Hey, everybody. Now, listen, you know who my guest is tonight, Scott Burnstein. We're going to have a great show, and we're going to be talking about the Philly family tonight. Just an update of what's going on with them. So, we're going to be back right after this. All right, we're back. What's up, Scott?
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Staying nice and hot here in Detroit, man. We've had a scorching summer.
Oh, okay, Bob. It's bad up here, too. Today we got a break with the weather, thank God. But they said the next few days, but who knows when that's going to be back.
And we got horrible baseball. It's been painful to watch the Tigers. We fired our general manager this afternoon, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But, you don't know what it's like there. You know, I got all this family in New England. You guys, you're so spoiled. You got the Patriots, the Celtics, the Red Sox, you know, just the elite of the elite.
Yeah, praise God. I'll tell you, it is beautiful there. Sports are great.
But we did give you Tom Brady. I mean, the state of Michigan. I mean, the University of Michigan. I mean, he's from California. But.
University, yeah.
That still counts.
Yeah, it does.
Now, is he still with Giselle? Is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
All
still
right.
with her.
I thought I seen something today that said they had split up, and I'm like, did I miss something?
No, I don't think so.
I particularly, if I had to choose between her and Bridget Moynihan, I'd probably stick with the American Bridget. But you know, people love Giselle, so you know, there's nothing wrong with that either. But I was always a big Bridget Moynihan fan.
Well, we already got a lot of people coming in. Scott, Anna, Jeff, Richard. Look at this. Joe, Graham. Got a lot of people. I was someone sent me an article that you wrote, Scott, on the Philly mob. I guess this just came out about Joe Malone.
Oh, I didn't write that. I think that was Dave Schratweiser wrote that, but that was the last defendant to plead out. So now it's all said and done on the 2020 racketeering case that took down two pretty major players in the Philadelphia crime family.
I got a picture of Steve up there. You got
reputed underboss, meeting some Stevie Mazzoni, and then Dom Grandi.
Yeah, there he is, right there. You know, I'll tell you, I'll tell you, he was a great guy, perfect gentleman. You know, if you go to the bottom, Kim, you got Dom's picture down there. Yeah. Now, I don't ever remember. I don't ever remember.
Because, Bobby, he was 21 years old when he was a kid, and he's been able to, earn the trust of the ranking administration right now, and you know he comes from a pedigree. His dad, his uncle, his grandfather were all members of the Bruno Scarfo crime family. You know, his dad flipped. And you know his dad was a big hitter back in the 80s for Nicky Scarfo, and the dad actually it's interesting. The dad didn't flip from the racketeering case that took down the Scarfo regime because he was rolled into that case with Nicky and Chucky and Chucky Merlino and Phil Leonetti and all those guys. And Salvatore Grandi, they called him Wayne or John Wayne because he was such a cowboy, Wayne. And so he took that case, swallowed it, was doing, 30 to life. And while he was inside, took a coke pinch for moving blow on the outside, but kind of calling shots from the inside. And that got him to turn state's evidence and went into the witness protection program. But it didn't seem to have any blowback on Dom, who was a teenager when that happened, or just becoming a teenager. He might have only been 11 or 12. He's a couple years younger than me. So I think he's 42, 43. And he was mentored by guys like Mikey Lancelotti and Anthony Nicodemo, and Stevie Mazzone. Stevie Mazzone is his uncle via marriage. And then,
really?
Yeah, and then Mikey Lance and Anthony Nicodemo, he was very close to those guys. And they kind of tapped him at a pretty young age. I've heard, I mean, this is strict speculation. I heard that he might have been used not in a triggerman capacity, but in smaller roles in murder conspiracies back in the early 2000s when, again, he would have just been in his early 20s. And that kind of maybe gained, a trust factor. The government believes he was the trigger man on the Gino Pietro hit, which is the last Philadelphia mob hit. Went down in 2012. Nicodemo was the getaway driver.
Yeah.
He's doing 25 to life. At his trial, prosecutor said that they believe Grandy was the shooter. But
yeah, I got a picture with him, Steven, and Georgie.
Yeah, right. It's a surveillance.
Yeah, that's him over
either
there.
Surveillance or Stratweiser's Fox crew.
Yeah.
So he rose through the ranks pretty quickly. Got made, I believe, in the 2010 9 or 10 ceremony. There were conversations that got picked up with Legambi talking to some Gambino guys at a restaurant, and in that conversation, Grandy's name came up, and they talked about what a rising star he was, and how everybody loved him, and what an earner, and kind of a tough guy, and a guy that everyone liked. So you've always talked about in the mob how it's tough to kind of hit those three factors. It's easy to hit two of the three, but not always all three. The love, feared, respected.
Yeah.
And so he got made in 10. I think he became a capo pretty quickly, and there's a lot of talk that he's being groomed to eventually succeed Merlino and Borghese and those guys as the leaders, or as the leader of the family when he gets out of prison.
Yeah, see, there's so many questions right now. You see the picture I got up there? 3 bosses, yeah. Put that up for a second.
Hold on one second.
We got Lance, we got Joey, and we got Uncle Joe. No one knows really who the boss is now. Michael Lancelotti on the left. Well, he's on my left. Really great guy.
The one in the white or the black?
The black. Am I going my right? Yeah.
Just call out the shirt.
All right. Joey Molino in the middle, who's supposed to be still the boss now, I don't know. And then you got Joe and Gamby, who we call Uncle Joe. You got him on the right, on my right,
The
with the
white.
white T-shirt. So it's like, people really don't know what's going on in that family, Scott.
Lots of layers.
Yeah, there is.
I think Borghese's in that same. So I think there's like 4 of them.
Yeah.
And there's like boss, acting boss, street boss, former boss, consigliere. So it's.
You got to remember now, Georgie was my liaison from Boston to Philly. He's really high ranking in there, in that family.
Well, I think most of the reporting is tagging Mikey Lance as acting boss. My sources say Mikey Lance is street boss, Georgie's acting boss. I know that Schratweiser, I think, and George Anastasia might have alluded to that in a recent report, but I think it goes Joey Merlino, Georgie Borghese, Mikey Lance, and then when Stevie's back on the street, he'll be back in the fold administration wise.
Yeah. Now, Stephen Mazzone, when I was on the street with the Philly family, he was the consigliere.
Right.
Joe Lingambi was underboss, and naturally Joey was the boss. And then Joey and I got picked up on the same day, when everything flipped over there. But
These are guys. I mean, with Stevie and Georgie. I mean, most of the people that are watching this probably know this. Joey, Stevie, Georgie. These are guys that, just like Dom Grande, were young up and comers that earned the trust of the older generation pretty quickly, or at least certain members of the older generation. The ones that they didn't, they went to war with and ended up winning that war. And these are guys that by the time they were in their 30s were running Philadelphia, and now they're in their, getting to be into their late 50s, early 60s. And in most crime families, that's when guys would be first ascending to leadership. And these guys have been leading a crime family for 3 decades.
yeah, they have. Now, you know what I'm thinking right now? I think I was with Dom's father, Sal. You said his father was Sal?
Yeah, so his father was Sal, and his uncle is Joe, and then his grandfather was John, who they called Cuckoo. He's dead.
All right. Listen, I was with Sal in Allenwood.
Yeah,
I remember now. He never talked about his family, but we got a little close there.
Wayne, Sal, aka Wayne, he was a guy that at a really young age impressed Nicky Scarvo, along with Phil Narducci, who's another guy who I don't think is in the administration in the Philly crime family, but definitely controls a wing of it as a capo. There's a lot of guys out on the street right now with Philadelphia. Probably the most outside of New York City right now. Probably the most, if not more than Chicago. They're equal to Chicago in terms of made guys on the street. Overall made guys, I think they're more than Chicago. But a lot of guys, a lot of different eras, and I think there was a group, there was a school of thought in the 2000s when they foresaw that they were going to have a time in the 2010s and now into the 2020s when you had all these different groups and factions on the street together. There was a lot of, I think, predictions of doom and gloom, and it hasn't been the case. Everyone has coexisted.
Well, this day and age,
right? It's not the
they
same.
started warring again like the 90s was Wild West in Philly and in Boston.
Yeah.
And also with the Columbus, I think, too.
Right.
Yeah. So
you were in you and your family right in the middle of it, and Philadelphia, it went even further back into about 1980 when, after about 25 years of peace, erupted into 20 years of pretty reckless violence.
There was a lot there with Scarfo. Then when Stanford took over, they didn't want him there. So that started that when Michael Ciancaglini got killed.
And then you had Ralph stirring the pot from behind bars.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
What I find, people ask me, what the root of my interest in this stuff, and when I started researching it and reporting on it, and a lot of people assume that it's the blood and guts, and to me, that's all really secondary. My primary interest is how these organizations operate and how power flows and how decisions are made and how political alliances. Now, a lot of times the results of these machinations is violence, and you can't ignore that. But to me, when I was able to interview some of the participants in this war of the 1990s, specifically Ralph Natale, who I spent about 6 months with, working on a book proposal. I ended up leaving the book, and Larry McShane ended up replacing me because I couldn't come to terms with some of the stuff we were writing, as well as some of the business aspect of it. But getting some insight from him, as well as some other guys that I was able to talk to, the belief that Chicky Ciancaglini and Chucky Merlino these were Scarfo guys whose kids were in the middle of all the conflict, but between the Stanford Molino groups.
Yeah.
I think there was a notion at the time, and I'm not hitting George because George was reporting on it in real time. So you can only report what you can report. And when you get more distance from it, you get more perspective. So, but I think at the time there was this narrative that was emerging that besides Ralph, Joey and Mikey Chang had the support of Chucky Merlino and Chicky Chang. And that's not what I've been told by multiple people. That not to say that Chucky Merlino and Chicky were backing Stanford. They weren't doing that either.
No.
But they were sending word to the street to stand down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason in the case of the Ciccolinis, for two brothers to end up on opposite sides of this thing trying to kill each other. And at the end of the day, one of them was killed and the other one was maimed. And, I'm sure there are ripple effects within the Ciangolini family that are still being felt today, 30 years later.
Yeah.
But so Chicky and Chucky were trying to tamp down. I mean, if whatever counsel was coming from them from behind bars was the opposite of what Ralph was saying. So you had a lot of different forces pulling at what was happening there in the 90s. You had an ambitious group of youngsters, Mikey Chang, Joey, Stevie, Georgie, Marty, Angelina, and that group. You had an older guy that saw a way to propel himself into a boss's chair by using these younger guys. So he has he has some motives that are not necessarily benevolent. And then you have the elder statesmen, the fathers of some of these guys that are saying not necessarily to just get in line behind Stanfa, but not to be actively shooting at each other. To be basically saying, use diplomacy. And Joey, Mikey didn't want to hear that. And Ralph was telling them, shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah, he probably was. But, as much as they think Ralph was controlling, I think it was really Joey controlling everything.
Well, of course, yes.
Yeah.
And I think when you're looking at the dichotomy of that of the organization at that point and how it was evolving, you had both Joey, again, when you're looking at this from socio-academically and you're analyzing it like you would a corporate merger. You have a situation where you have two people, one a 60-year-old looking for his glory, finally a chance to ascend to a level that he views himself deserved of that spending 15 years in the joint, and Ralph Natali, and then you have this young up and coming swaggering aspiring mob boss and Joey Merlino. They both are trying to play each other in a way. It's like a game of chess that they're playing with each other. Joey trying to use Ralph to leverage himself forward, and Ralph trying to use Joey to leverage himself forward. And it was a game of chess that Joey ended up winning decidedly. And like you said, at the end of the day, Joey gamed the game and had Ralph wrapped around his finger and was really the puppet master, not the puppet. And
I'll tell you, I think now that we're ready to go to some questions. You ready to do that, my friend?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's start off from the top.
Oh, there's a lot of people saying hello.
Yeah, well, we'll skip those. They're all great with each other.
Okay.
And I see Graham's watching the show tonight from the UK. It's like 2:00 in the morning over there, Scott. We got a lot of people.
And Graham's been sick, so we've been
Yeah.
praying for him, and I
Yeah.
believe he's doing better. So let's keep up those
He
prayers
is. He's home
going.
now. He's home now. God bless him.
So we should probably just finish off by saying Stevie Mazzone is going to prison for about 5 years.
Yep.
He will end up doing 4 6 months in a halfway house probably, which really for Stevie is I'm sure a 59-year-old man doesn't want to go do 4 years in prison, but for Stevie Mazzone, it's probably not going to be that tough of a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Grande, on the other hand, he's never done big time before. He's probably got about 6 years of time to do. He's got a brand new wife and kid.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
But I think he's going to come out. He'll be 50. He'll be about 50 years old, and he'll be poised to either become a street boss or underboss or maybe even boss. We'll see. But so I think it will work out.
Who knows what's going to happen in 10 years, my friend?
Yeah.
With any family that's out there.
That is true.
There might be nothing to come home to.
That is true.
How many years is Dom getting?
Dom's got, I think, 6.5, 7. So he'll do.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I got 20 years off the rip.
Yeah. Well, Dom didn't have any prior convictions.
Yeah.
He'd been arrested. Maybe he'd been arrested in the 2008 case out of the Borgata casino with Nicodemo. I think he might have pled that out and got a probation from that, or they might have dropped the charges before.
Yeah.
That was the only other run-in that he had.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go to some questions and answers.
All right, we'll start with the question.
Yeah, all those up there, those aren't questions?
No questions, more just how's everybody doing? Hellos. You want to do those first?
Well, yeah, I like to do them.
Okay.
Because they're saying hello to Scott too, so I'm going to.
Yes. So we got this.
All right, Joey. Jolly Joe. He says you're right on point, bro.
Thank you.
Oh, I think you are too. All right, Richard. Hi, what's up, my friend? Good evening, Bobby. Hi, Jeff. Looking forward to another great show. Thank you, Bob. Good evening, Ian. Oh, Scott. Hi, Bobby and Scott. All right. Hi, Scott. Chris. Yo, Bob. That's a Philly thing. Hey, Christopher. That's all right. Ciao, everyone. What's up, Richard? Bobby, how you doing? Glad I caught the show. I love hearing from Scott. All right, Scott, look at this. Yeah. All right. Elena, good evening, Bobby and Scott, the girl I grew up with in the neighborhood. All right, Nada, good evening. Big G, here we go. Hi, brother, how you doing? And the lovely Kim, too. I'm doing good, Big G, thank you. All right, Graham, hello, everybody. I just want to say this is Graham from England. We'd like to say how lucky we all are to have Bobby Luisi in this world. I've been in the hospital for nearly a month.
Wow.
And we've been praying for him.
Yep.
You're better, Graham. Be healthy.
Yep. What else does he say? He's been in touch with me and he's been praying for me. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I just wanted to say publicly thank you. You're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. Carlos, good evening, brother. All right, later, this is what you do, honey. Go down in the description and you'll see the link to Etsy. I'm starting to say that right now, Kim. To the Etsy store, and then you could go up, you could order a t-shirt on. Well, see, she just asked that question.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, let everyone know that I got my podcast finally is up on YouTube. Took us 3 years to get video. We've been doing audio for about 2.5 years, and
Yeah,
now we're up. So Original Gangsters, go check it out, like, subscribe, share, and every week we drop a new episode around Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish.
oh, I like that. I wish you told me earlier I could have put a link up, but that's all right. We can still get the link and put it up.
You
I'm
can
sure
get
I'll be a guest.
it wherever you get your podcast, and then on YouTube.
All right, Mob Entertainment. What's up, Scott? And Bobby, what's up, my friend? All right, what's to say? Was Ralph and Stanford friends? No.
They knew each other. They knew each other. They were not friends. They both were around Angelo Bruno in the late 70s.
Yeah.
But they were not friends at all. No.
No.
Who's the boss?
That's for you, Scott.
The boss of I don't understand the question. The boss of
Put that up again, honey.
Yep.
Please.
Who does
There's
he
a
think?
lot
As
of
per
more
Scott's
shows.
excellent journalism, who does he think is the boss of the internet?
He's just joking, I guess.
Yeah.
I think he's asking about between the different shows, the mob bosses.
Yeah,
Who do you
yeah.
think is the boss of the internet?
I know.
I mean, Francis has been able to turn this into a cottage industry. So whatever you can say about the guy, you got to tip your hat to him. His business.
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
So I mean, he's been doing it way before the internet. I mean, I remember listening to this guy. I was a big Jim Rome fan of sports radio, and I remember he'd be going on Jim Rome in the late 90s, talking about his life and going around the different colleges and NFL teams and NBA teams, lecturing and branding himself. And
Yeah. That's what he was doing.
If
He's
that's
been in this for well over 30 years.
yeah, so but
Well over 30. Xavier, ask Scott if he knows when Ralph was actually made.
this was one of the reasons that I stepped away from the book project. I feel more comfortable talking about it now that Ralph's gone. So I have really nothing negative to say about Ralph as a person and about my personal interactions with him were nothing but positive. He was very charming. He was very likable. I could see, very knowledgeable. I could see how he was able to sell what he was selling. But there were certain things that I just didn't feel like he was being honest about, whether we're talking about when he was made, which is this controversy. I didn't want to put my name into it.
No.
He's saying in the book that he's not essentially, he is saying that he lied under oath. He lied in his FBI debriefings, and that he wasn't made into the mafia by Joey Merlino in 1994, but he was actually made back in 1966 by Angelo Bruno and Carlo Gambino in a ceremony in New York. And
that's total nonsense.
yeah, so that's not.
If you're in one family, you don't go to the other family's ceremony.
I didn't want to write that, so I ended up. Was one of the reasons I left the project. He also didn't want to be honest about situation with the girl, with Ruthie, and I felt like that was an important part of him owning his legacy and taking some real stock in what happened. And I think if it's hard to be objective, I understand, but I think if you're writing a biography, people want you to be honest and raw. And even if that honesty means that you're critiquing yourself, nobody's perfect.
Well, it was the problem with Ralph. He didn't want to give Joe any credit. When he got out of prison, Joey made him. I know him, was a cop in the family. I got made in that family. Joey made him, and that night he made him the boss.
Right.
He was Joey's front guy. So there was no cutting your fingers with Carlo and Bruno. That was all nonsense.
Yep.
All nonsense.
Well, if it was true, then you just threw your cooperation agreement out the door. So we know that. So where are you lying? You lying under oath, or are you lying after you've done your sentence? And so
yeah, he was full of shit. Yep.
So I don't believe that was true. Larry McShane put his name to it. I have nothing but respect for Larry McShane. I think he looked at it more as, if Ralph's saying it, that's Ralph. That's Ralph saying it. And I looked at it as, even if that's Ralph saying it, I don't want my name anywhere near it.
Yeah. No, I won't want it either. When I saw him on Valuetainment, I couldn't believe the things that were coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
His actions, spin on the floor. A guy in it who was supposed to be in his position doesn't carry himself like that.
And I've always said that, again, if you analyze it, and you do a deep dive into it, Ralph's reign, or Ralph's time as boss didn't start off as a disaster. He eventually took it off. The wheels came off the bus, and he hit the rails, and he went careening out of control. But at first he had done something that was pretty impressive and not easy to do. He couldn't sustain because a lot of that rah-rah college football pep talks, that got everyone excited and got these younger guys energized. It never resulted in anything in terms of what he was preaching. At the end of the day, he was really just an old man that was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
That's what he could do. He knew how to sell drugs, and he was promoting himself when he became boss as someone that was going to do what Scarfo and Bruno had done, which were, get all the unions, get all the politicians, all the judges, everyone's in line, and it's, one big, huge citywide conspiracy. But all he really could do was arrange drug deals with his son-in-laws, and that's
just what it is. Because I was with one of them. They told me the whole story. So I didn't even know Ralph was doing that. Although I didn't sell that stuff, but I didn't even know he was doing that. So, but he was, he was a drug dealer. He was doing that while he was supposedly be the
that's
boss.
why. That's why he got locked up. That's one of the reasons he got locked up.
Yeah. Well, he got violated because of wrong brevity. They got him on a tape, and then when he was in there, found out the indictment was coming down. Then he flipped, and then he wanted to blame Joey for everything, which was nonsense.
Well, Joey's an opportunist, and he's pragmatic. Yeah. And by the time Ralph was in prison, honestly, Joey didn't need him. Joey didn't need him anymore. None of these guys needed him anymore. He was more of a headache than he was worth. He had lost everyone's respect with the way that the Ruthie thing had really become a Frankenstein-like situation where you didn't. She started off as like this benign side piece and turned into this very cancerous. And this is nothing against Ruthie. Ruthie was just being Ruthie. Ralph should have never let Ruthie present herself, or have Ralph present her as Princess Diana, as I know George Anastasia has always kind of made that analogy, the Princess Di of Bexley Avenue. She had a lot of for a woman that was the age of Joey and these guys. Ralph gave her a lot of power, and she was embarrassing Ralph in public. And when you add the inability for Ralph to follow through on a lot of what he was talking about, and then you had these kind of public outbursts where she's slapping him in public, and he had totally the horse he wasn't riding the horse was riding him at that point, both in terms of his relationship with Ruthie and his leadership in the crime family. So these are the things that have preceded him going to prison. And then Joey, you're right, Joey abandoned you at that point, but you would have done the same thing to Joey if the shoe was on the other foot.
Listen, let me tell you, Ralph was wrong with the whole thing. I know everything that was going on. I did a little show on Ralph. I didn't want to talk about him no more. But I'll tell you, the bullshit that came out of his mouth, it was really disgusting to me. It really was. And I don't know. I would never even read his book. And I didn't want to say nothing about him. But, eventually I did do a little show on him.
Another one of the big fundamental disagreements we had creatively was that I wanted the book, because this is, the book was called the last Don, right? Or no?
The Last Don. Okay.
Was that what the book was called?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It was Last Don. No, it was Last Don Standing. I think that's what it's called. Last Don Standing.
He's out of his mind.
But so the book is called Last Don Standing. I wanted the book to be mainly about when he was the Don.
Yeah.
You know, so like between I wanted the book to take place between 1990 and 2000 with maybe a chapter on what was going on in the 60s and 70s. Ralph wanted 80% of the book to be about what was going on in 60s and 70s, and 10% of the book to be about the Joey years, and then another 10% to be about all these crazy conspiracies that he was spinning in terms of reveals, fixed boxing fights and presidential elections, and
he was nuts. Yeah,
but he didn't want to. I kept on saying we need to give the audience more Joey. I kept on saying more Joey, and he kept on saying no, I don't want to. And I was like, but people want to hear stories about Joey.
Right, they do.
And he's like, so it became a push and pull with that as well, that he didn't really even want to talk about the time when he was boss, which I think speaks volumes, right? Isn't that, if you don't want to revel in your time as boss, you'd rather revel in your time as a non-made guy that was a union fixer for Bruno?
Yeah, let me tell you, it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Everything with it was nonsense. You want to throw that up, Kim?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I would love to, man. There's been Bobby will probably tell you this too. I mean, the world of developing television and film projects in Hollywood is very, very difficult. It's an uphill battle. There's so many factors at play that are out of your control. There's so much timing that plays a role. The stars have to perfectly align. So if you would have asked me, we put out Mafia Prince 10 years ago. If you would have said to me 10 years from now, meaning 2012, you said 2022, there will be neither a book nor a movie, there'd be neither, from this book, there'll be neither a film or a television show. Yeah. I would have thought you're crazy. Of course there's going to be one, right? And there's been a couple people that have, knocked at the door, and some pretty big people. One was David Cronenberg's crew, or the guy that did History of Violence, which was a kind of semi-mob movie that took place in Philadelphia. Part of it took place in Philadelphia. And then David Mamet, who Oscar-winning screenwriter, wrote The Untouchables. So we had a couple people that were interested in trying to develop something, and just it never happened. Things did not go forward in those endeavors. So I hope one day we'll be able to. I'll tell you, you can sound the siren and hit me for being a name dropper here. But I got to personally deliver a copy of Mafia Prince to David Chase right after he had just done his follow-up to The Sopranos. He did a movie about a garage band in New Jersey that Gandolfini had been in, and he was looking for his next project. And just through a friend of a friend, I got a meeting with him, and I got to hand deliver a copy of it to David Chase. And I think we all thought, not that it was a shoo-in, but we thought there was, a possibility that David, especially that's right in his wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. We had three people that were pretty big deal people that got their eyes on it, and it just, hasn't been fated to happen.
Listen, 1% of books turn into movies.
Yep.
You know that it's really tough to do. It's even tough today. Get a mall book, get a publisher to publish a mall book. We just got a deal. I just self-published from Capital Christian, and it's already up. I'm pre-selling them, and I should have all the copies in by Friday or Monday, and then I can start mailing them out to the people.
Yep. I mean, it's that classic business principle of supply and demand. I mean, up until 1980, 1985, there never been a mob tell-all. Joe Bonanno put out his book. Jimmy Fratiano put out his book. But, until Sammy the Bull, that came out in 93, I think. There really so those were big money projects because there had never been one. Then you again fast forward in the 2000s, and there's more cooperators, and there's more chances for more books and more prosecutors that go to private practice and they write books, and FBI agents retire and they write books.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, there's a million books, from a perspective, or from multiple perspectives, that had never been available before, but it dilutes the market value.
Well, I know two people right now. Rob Pizzula wrote Ghost. I'm in that book. It's the agent Mike McGowan that got me. And Sylvester's had it for 2 years now. He keeps, I don't know, he was supposed to be making a movies or a series out of it. Nothing's developing. My other friend wrote another book, Master Thieves. He's had a producer for 2 years now. Nothing's happening. So it's really hard to get these done.
People should understand, and I'm not trying to say that I'm some sage, or that I'm some savvy veteran. I'm learning this as I go. But from what I can get, and you mentioned Sly Stallone, from what I can gather, someone like Sly Stallone, someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, any one of these, but this isn't an exaggeration. They probably have at any one time 10 to 15 projects that they're juggling in various stages of development. And out of those 10 to 15, half to more than half are never going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
So, I remember another, you can ring the siren again, another name drop for me. I remember early in my career doing a phone call and some emails with Mark Wahlberg and thinking that I made it. I'm talking to Mark Wahlberg. We're doing a movie together. And it's like, dude, he has those kind of meetings every day. Like, just because you talk to Mark Wahlberg and exchange some emails with him and his producers, that doesn't mean they're going to do you're a couple steps away from getting a movie or a television show made.
I don't even get excited about anything no more.
Right, exactly.
I just wait. Thank God, like I said, we did, Emily Sweeney, who was the top reporter for the Boston Globe.
Yeah.
And, mob specialist up there. She's writing the book. So that book will be out next year, but I have my other one sitting. And like I said, I self-published. I didn't want to wait no more. Well, we got a ton of questions here. We got to go to them.
All right, let's get going with some of these.
Where were the married couple in Philly mob? Or who were the married couple in the Philly mob? Married couple. I don't know what that means.
Are you talking about the Salvi Testa thing where Salvi was going to marry Joey Merlino's sister, but broke the wedding off, and that was one of the things that precipitated Salvi's murder. But that was supposed to be like the mafia royal wedding with Salvi Testa marrying, I think it was Maria Merlino.
All right. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
And I guess Stevie Wonder had been booked, and it was going to be at the Waldorf Astoria or at maybe the Ritz in Philly or the Four Seasons in Philly, and they called it off at the last second. And Nicky Scarfo used that as a way to get Chucky Merlino kind of on his side to kill Salvi, basically saying he disrespected you. You put all this money out for a wedding, and he cancels it the last second.
Yeah. Wow, imagine that. I didn't know that.
Was Stanfield a protege? Yeah, I don't know if I would say protege, but he was placed in Philadelphia by Carlo Gambino and his people, and the Cherry Hill Gambinos came over here in the 70s. And I think there's some question about whether Stanfield had been made over in Sicily and then got made again. He at least had one button, if not two. And Stanfield, Carlo Gambino, loaned him out to Angelo Bruno.
Yeah.
There's nothing really in Atlantic City to control.
No, there's nothing down there.
I mean, what's interesting is in the case that we started off talking about, this 2020 Philadelphia racketeering case, that part of the only reason Stevie got caught up in this was because there were guys that were wired up. Stevie didn't do anything other than talked to guys that he had really, I guess in this day and age, you should suspect that anybody and everybody, but he was talking to guys that he didn't suspect were wearing wires, a maid guy. And in those conversations, he talked about needing to get back into Atlantic City. And he was giving kind of a football coach style pep talk to this new crew of initiates back in 2015. And one of the things he said was, we need to get back into Atlantic City. Now, I don't think he was talking about the way that it used to be, like they literally controlled the entire town. I think what Stevie was saying, like, we just need to get a book up and running there. There was some drug activity I know that was going on. Maybe some street gambling or whatever. He wasn't talking about going back into the casinos or going back into the mayor's office, because that's what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. What's this one here? Jolly Joe. Oh, this is for you, Scott.
I go back and forth on that. Phil believes that Joey was actively hunting him. I think there is definitely seeds of truth to that, if not fully full-blown truth. But there's also part of me that thinks not, and this isn't to say that Joey didn't have people, quote unquote, working on the situation. But the other part of me thinks, especially at that point in time, if Joey and those guys really wanted to put a concerted effort into tracking Leonetti, who at the time was, he was being cautious, but it leaked out. People knew he was coming back into town to see his mom and see his cousin. He had a couple meetings with Nicky Jr. Yes, I do think there were people that were working on it, and if they saw Leonetti, they would have done something. But the other part of me thinks, and these could both be true. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. That if Joey and the guys that were running Philly in 95, 96, 97, really, really wanted to track and kill Leonetti, knowing that he was coming back in town, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a Phil Leonetti who wrote Mafia Prince with me. He would have been, dead in the street in 90, 96, 97, 98.
All right.
Just some resourceful, a lot of guys on the street, a lot of law enforcement, current, retired. You can get a lot of information through FOIA requests, court documents, FBI files. If you're lucky enough, you get people to trust you that feed you information. It's a cliche, but I've never been part of a cliche that is so true. And I didn't go to journalism school, so I don't come from a traditional journalism education background. But they tell you that I'm from Detroit, but through some of my my mentors in the crime writing world, I've had a lot of activity and experience in Philadelphia to answer that question. But the old saying that a reporter is only as good as his sources is so true. And when you become a good reporter, you don't even have to go looking for stories. Stories come to you.
Yeah, that's true. It amazes me how these families are able to function in this day and age with phones being tracked and cameras literally everywhere.
But they're shadows of what they used to be. So yes, can they function? Yeah, but it's not like what again, we can weave it all together, like with the DiPietro hit in Philadelphia in 12. Don Grande's lucky they didn't charge him. They got a video of the guy, and you can't tell for sure that it's Don Grande, but there's a pretty good resemblance, and in that image on that camera, that you could make an argument that that's Don Grande in a Don Grande in a hooded sweatshirt. So yes, like what you're saying, like that was on camera.
What's up, Bobby and Scott? His stuff is always on point. Love his stuff. Should be a great interview. Thank you, Paul. All right, Mike, you got friends in the heart. He's talking to him.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. All right, Scott, this is for you.
No, he wasn't made by it. Ralph was made by Joey in a very untraditional manner. Ralph, to Ralph's credit, he had gotten some support from guys in New York from his time locked away, and made some connections to the five families, and they they looked the other way. It was very, this never happened before. A guy that Joey really had no right to make. Joey hadn't been cemented as the boss. The five families at that point weren't recognizing Joey. Joey wasn't recognized by New York until 99, 98, 99, 2000. So, what right does Joey have to make Ralph? Cleveland LCN, from what I can gather, there's still something there, but it's very small. There's some small, as Carmen Lupertazzi said in The Sopranos, kind of a glorified crew that could say they're a family because there had been a family in Cleveland for so many years, but not really a force. Pittsburgh's no longer, Pittsburgh doesn't exist anymore. Cleveland exists, but Cleveland exists with the help of Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah, I was with the boss, Lenny.
Yeah.
Lenny
Lenny was out of Youngstown, and
yep. I did time with Lenny.
Yep.
Hey, Richard. Hi, Bobby, Kim, Scott. Was Ralph Natale really as close as he says to Angelo Bruno? I don't think so, but
I would guess that he wasn't as close as he claims, but did have a relationship with him, and was trusted for certain things. I think if Angelo Bruno was really that high on Ralph, he would have made sure that he had a button.
Yeah.
Ralph says he turned it down.
Ralph full of shit.
Right. Well, again, I don't know what Ralph says. I mean, one time he says he turned it down. Another time he says he got made in 66. So.
All right. Bob, all right. What did they say? Scott's final takeover on Bobby Luisi's channel is going to
We're allies.
I like that. Oh, that was good. All right, Frank. Next one. Does the Detroit family answer to Chicago still?
No, Detroit never answered to Chicago. Oh. The strongest family outside of New York is probably Philadelphia or Chicago. I don't put Detroit in that same category right now. Detroit's probably down to about 20 made guys. Chicago, I think, probably still has 40 to 50. Phillies.
They got that many over there?
Chicago, I believe Chicago still has 40 to 50.
Yeah, because I did time with Nicky Calabrese.
Yeah.
He said the family wasn't that big anymore. But I don't know. Maybe they built up.
So, again, it depends on what your metrics are. The government put out a list, in the early 2000s that listed 30 guys. But that, you know how, Bobby, do you know? Do you know how many checks and balances you have to do if you're an FBI agent to confirm that someone's a made guy or somebody's a capo? So you can hear it from three people, and then the government still won't let you. There's a certain process, and it's got to be confirmed by other people who have to confirm it. It's a very very comprehensive process. So I think, again, my research. I go by my research compared as opposed to FBI agents that don't hold press conferences and don't put out press releases. And I think there was a big group of guys that were made into the outfit in the 2000s by Mike Sarno, who was the boss from about 04, 05 to 2010. I was told he brought in, maybe a couple dozen guys himself, younger guys from the Cicero group that are now the guys that are, in their 50s and 60s, kind of being groomed to take over from who the guys are leading it right now. So yeah, I think, New Jersey probably still has a nice group. New England still has guys more on the Boston side than the Providence side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The mafia is The mafia is
They don't kill anyone anymore, though.
No.
I mean, in 20 years, the mob's probably killed 10, 15 people in the whole country. The 20 years before that, they probably killed 1,000 or over 500.
Can I see that, please,
Yeah,
Kim? I was just watching you sit down with Michael and looked up. So blessed to catch you live. God bless. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you. Corey, in your opinion, Scott, who was more dangerous, Tony Jack or Billy Jack?
Well, Tony Jack was someone that, really prided himself on scaring people. And he wanted to give you the evil eye, and he could cut glass with his stare. Well, Billy was someone that was more of a politician, but just as equally as dangerous. So in some ways, I might say Billy, because Billy's the type of guy that would, take you out for a drink and wrap his arm around you and tell you that you're his best friend, and you turn around and Billy's putting a knife into your ear.
Boston Cleaner Company, thank you, brother. Thank you, Bo.
Well, here's what I'll tell you about Billy and Tony, and this is a fact that's as real as cancer. Those two guys, Anthony Giacalone and Vito Giacalone, Tony and Billy Jack, between the 1940s and the 2000s, between them killed probably 50 people or more. I mean, that's a lot of bodies.
Wow. All right.
Well, when I say killed, either personally killed or ordered the killing, including Jimmy Hoffa.
Bobby Luisi is the boss of the internet and most honest and truthful man. Thank you, Greg. Ozzy, from the interviews of Ralph, he was very confusing. In Italian, it's like he made, how do you say that?
No.
Nebraska?
Okay.
Yeah, a mess. Yeah. Yeah, I watched this stuff. It was ridiculous. Bobby, can Scott do an expose on Paul Tanzo? Title the story, Mob Friend Steals Farmer Capo's Wires. They're never going to leave Paulie alone. What's this one, Scott? Bobby, which state did you usually score cannabis from? Arizona. Obviously, I was moving to Detroit, but they also had guys in Texas. No, we were getting it from Arizona. It's for you, Scott.
Yeah, I wish. I'm looking forward to it. I hope one day we can do it.
All right, Xavier.
One of them's still alive. Stevie Andretta's still alive. He's like 83, lives in New Jersey. Tommy Andretta died of cancer a couple years ago. They were suspects not as members of the hit team. They were suspects as members of the cleanup team, as guys that were alleged to have been part of the disposal, or part of the group that was tasked with disposing of Hoffa's body.
All right.
Yeah, RJ Papalardo's allegedly supposed to be what's left, the boss of what's left of Cleveland. His dad was a member. Jackie the Kid, Giacalone, who's the boss of Detroit, he was made by his dad and his uncle and Jack Tocco. Jack Tocco was, the Toccos and the Giacalones didn't mix a lot. They were, different wings of the family. Toccos were the white collar, Giacalones were the blue collar. But Billy Giacalone was always the guy that would run interference, and he was the one who would, play nice with Jack Tocco and his brother Tony. And from that, he brought his son Jackie along with him on a lot of those meetups throughout the 70s and 80s. And you can see a lot of pictures in some of my books, FBI surveillance photos from when Jackie was, a guy that was in his 20s. The pictures are from when he was in his 20s, and he's with all the bosses, all the main guys who at that point were in their 60s. So you could tell at a pretty, early age that Jackie was being groomed to be the boss. There's a lot of talk on FBI wires in the late 80s, early 90s that he was going to be the boss. He didn't become the boss until around 2014. He was street boss for a decade plus, but didn't become the actual Don until 14. But it had been something that had been in the works for a long time. And Jack Tocco, it was ultimately his choice. So they weren't best friends, but Jack respected Jackie enough to pass the torch.
Oh, nice.
Scott said he had some books.
And some of in my Motor City Mafia book and my Detroit True Crime Chronicles book, there are, in the photo section, there's a lot of FBI surveillance photos of Jack Maloney
and they find that?
And the Toccos. What did you say?
Where can they find your books?
Well, you can get them on, Amazon, get them on my website, Gangster Report, anywhere where you can, at Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can go find books.
Nice.
We didn't have the commercial for him to play, so it was right at that time. That's why I was at. If you don't mind, that would have been our commercial time for you.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go to commercial. We got too many questions.
Right, that's why I was giving him a quick plug.
Yeah. Sonny, my grandfather was old school, while my dad went into narcotics and weapons. A lot of the guys did, my friend. Do you know?
I don't really think Jackie's in communication with the guys in New York. That's not to say that if he went to New York, he couldn't get a meeting, or if he needed to send word to guys in New York, he couldn't do that. But I don't think he's in active communication with the guys in New York. I think he's in active communication with the guys in Chicago, the guys in Cleveland.
Yeah, just around there on that side.
But, the New York tie from the Detroit family, the New York tie is through the Colombos, because the Zerilli and Tocco family are both married into the Profaci bloodline. So all of the Profaccis that are left in the Colombo crime family orbit have all their relatives in Detroit. There's a lot of cross-pollination. In fact, I know that there was a birthday, I think this last weekend or maybe this weekend, of Joe Profacci's youngest daughter, who's turning 90, and a bunch of New York luminaries are coming into Detroit to celebrate Millie Tocco, aka Millie Profacci's birthday.
What are your thoughts on Barney and how he made it to the top of the Genovese at such a young age?
Barney's the gold standard right now. A guy again that people saw at a young age as a future boss, and he's probably the definition of what you want in a 21st century mafia don. There's like 3 pictures of that guy that exist on the internet. He's keep his head as low as you can keep it.
All right, let's see, Ozzy. I got to see this question.
Okay.
Off the subject, you got to be legit given the raid with FBI and Trump and ransacking his wife's wardrobe. You have to be
ultimate
legit. I don't know. Listen, what they did was wrong. Oh, I didn't pull down that tape, did I? No, I didn't. I didn't put it down.
I just think they need it, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but they need to show if that was necessary, they need to show why. And so far they haven't shown why.
They're gonna have to answer for that.
Yeah,
what they did. That was terrible. What they did.
It should be something like that. It should be as transparent. It's never been. This is an action that was unprecedented, and because it was unprecedented, there should be unprecedented transparency. And we're not getting that. And I'm not someone who's a Trump supporter. I'm an even Steven. I don't like either side.
Yeah.
But I call it like it is, and I'm not someone who's going to be told what to think by either side. And this was this sets a bad precedent, especially if you can't tell us what was the point of that, and don't say it was because he didn't give back some of his records. That doesn't equate to raiding a 9-hour raid.
No, that's not right. And I did pull a clip down, but I forgot to bring it to the stream yet.
Hoffa was killed in Detroit and then was disposed of in Detroit, most likely incinerated or cremated. I think that the hit team consisted of, or the two guys that were most responsible for it were Billy Giacalone, who we've spoken about on here, and then a guy named Tony Palazzolo, a.k.a. Tony Pal, a.k.a. the Butterfly, a.k.a. Tony Sausages, who the FBI believes was the shooter. And that's the opinion that they have right now, after 47 years, was that Tony Palazzolo, who at the time was in his 20s, killed Jimmy Hoffa and then used that hit to climb the ladder, became a crew boss, then became a capo, eventually became consigliere, and he died a couple years ago of stomach cancer. But and he was caught bragging about his role in the Hoffa murder by undercover FBI agents in the 1990s, and they wired up his headquarters, which is called Detroit Sausage Company, and they also found or they heard him talking about Hoffa. So that's the FBI belief that Billy Giacalone and Tony Palazzolo killed him. They have a very close relation. Detroit and Chicago have a very close relationship. They always have. Tony Accardo and Joe Zerilli were very close friends. And the last two bosses, I still work with Al. The last two bosses, Jack Tocco and Johnny No-Nos DeFranzo, were also very close. And Detroit underboss, Chicago Tony LaPiana, is from Chicago and was a guy that made his bones and came up through the ranks in the Chicago mob before he came to Detroit. He married into the Detroit family.
All right, let's see this one. My dad went under Dave Lucason's ministry, got right, did what you're doing. Now all glory to God. Praise God. Excellent. Then went back to the life. You can't put your hand back to the plow. Not good. We already answered that. All right.
From everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, they're one of them's alive, one's dead, and whatever information they had, I don't really think it would have been significant to who killed him. I think it would have been related to how he was disposed of.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great movie. Vigo made that movie.
Yeah.
Very good.
LA has something very, very small, if anything. St. Louis is pretty much gone. Milwaukee's pretty much gone. Anything that's left in Milwaukee belongs to Chicago. A lot of Albanians in Detroit. Yeah. Albanians do a lot of muscle work for the Detroit Italian mob. They've been alleged to be involved in some hits.
Oh, Framingham, Milford. Okay.
This guy's asked the same question. Yeah.
Sometimes they ask it
No,
again.
no, they ask double. I know they do.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, Bob, you sick again? Actually, the doctor gave you a simple antibiotic. I had the same cough, but better with the antibiotic. Actually, I am taking a Z-Pack, but I think it's my allergies. So.
Yeah, Brenda Coletti was Phil Coletti's wife, and Phil Coletti was the guy that killed or was driving the car when John Vesey killed Mikey Chain and shot Joey in the butt. Joe Uno was the most. Yes, Joe Zerilli was the most successful down in Detroit history. That's true. Jack Tocco was his nephew. Tony Zerilli was his son. At first, the succession was supposed to be Tony Zerilli boss, Jack Tocco underboss, and that's the way it was set up in the 60s. Tony became acting boss for his dad, and Jack Tocco became acting underboss. But Tony Zerilli got busted stealing from Las Vegas casinos, which was really the first inclination that the mob had been dipping into the Las Vegas till, if you will, and really was like sounded the alarms for what would go on to happen over the next 10, 15 years with all these busts. So Joe Zerilli was embarrassed when his son was the one that got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And when Tony Zerilli went to prison to serve time for that case, Joe Zerilli decided to demote his son and have his nephew pass over Joe's son. So when Tony Zerilli came out, instead of being the boss, he was forced to take the underboss spot.
All right, what do we got here? Oh, sorry about that. Here we go, Big G.
I don't know who Vince Isolde is. No.
Okay. Ozzy.
The most untrusted. I don't know. Well, in in Philadelphia, he wasn't underboss, but he was, consigliere was Tony Bananas. It was one of Angelo Bruno's worst miscalculations, was putting him in that consigliere post and giving him that type of power. His underboss at that time, Phil Testa, he didn't like Angelo Bruno by the end either, but he wasn't willing to act. Caponegro took the power that Bruno gave him in 77 upon the death of Joe Regnetta and ended up using it to at least try to take over the crime family. And the first thing he did was kill Bruno. So that was a severe miscalculation.
Watching you and Michael makes my soul smile. Thank you, Sonny. God bless. All right. What's your knowledge of the current status of Boston? Who's the main guys? Who's the boss?
I heard something recently about the new underboss. I don't want to. I can't say it. I can maybe tell Bobby off the air what I heard. I think it's going to be reported in the next couple of weeks by some reporters out there. So it's their scoop. But I think the boss is out of Boston. It's either D'Annunzio or someone else in that group. I know D'Annunzio is the name that gets thrown out, but
I get different messages all the time, and the names change all the time.
Yeah, and I've heard that D'Annunzio might just be in acting, and there might be another guy, Spucky.
Yeah, I don't talk about it because if I really don't know something, and I'm here, and I hear things on the street, but I'm confused.
Well, I'll tell you one thing we know for sure, and this has just happened last week. Matty Guglielmetti up in
I got that, Matty. Yep.
Is back in the crosshairs. I mean, he didn't get busted, but a guy that is allegedly underneath him just got busted, and they got him meeting with Matty and talking about deals. And
there it is.
Yeah, this is Matty right here.
No, that's not Matty. That's Priest Quintina. Matty.
I put the wrong picture up.
That's Price Quintina.
Yeah, that's Price. I'm sorry. I mixed it up when I brought it down. Put Dino's up. This is Dino's picture.
Yeah, that's Dino Gometti.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's Price. I made a mistake. That's all right. But I do all the editing, the pictures. I'm not perfect.
Matty's 74. It's the last thing Matty needs.
Well, I was a friend with Matty. I haven't seen him since the 90s.
He's been out of prison for he's been out of prison 8 years now, and has kept his head low. And this guy, this other guy doesn't really know how to keep his head low, from what I can understand.
No, he hasn't.
He didn't help. Sonny Mercurio didn't help things.
No, he didn't. That's for sure.
There's still a couple, I think, and I hope Bobby is going to, I'm sure he will with his book. But there's still stories to be told from what was going on in New England in the 80s and 90s, and I was, I was hoping to write one. It didn't end up happening, but there's still a lot of stuff that I don't think people really have context on, and there's still stuff to be told. I think stories to be told and secrets to be unearthed and what was going on with the FBI, more so than just Bulger.
All right, what's this saying?
Which one do you want? Frank?
No, Boston Cleaners.
Oh,
What
I
did he
thought
say?
it.
Our government is now the new mafia, only worse. I think journalists is like
So my fiance, my fiance,
telling stories how we are being persecuted by Washington D.C. Yep.
my fiance says the biggest mob is the government.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hard to
yeah.
argue. It's hard to argue.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He was in Pitt, right? He was. I said that he was in Youngstown, and he reported to Pittsburgh, but he was in Ohio, and he actually gave up some information on Detroit. I know because he was working with Toko and those guys.
All right, Big G. Opt in on the membership gift on the bottom of the chat box. All right, nice. All right, according to the government, if you're Italian, you're a syndicate. Give us a break.
I don't know. I don't hear. I can parse that. I don't think if you're just an Italian, regular Joe or Jane citizen, you're going to be lumped into the mafia. But if you're an Italian that's a convicted felon, you could have nothing to do with the mafia, and you're going to be pigeonholed as a member of the mafia.
Yep. All right, Richie.
I think he was the astronaut. Yeah, I know. I heard Ralph say that a couple times.
Yeah, Ralph's nuts.
Oh, what happened? Frank the Bomb's son, I believe, was the last Detroit mob hit. I believe Frank the Bomb and Billy Jack killed Carlo Bomarito. I think Frank the Bomb gave the green light on the murder of his own son. I think it was Billy Giacalone's the last murder that he ever ordered. Frank the Bomb was Billy Jack's guy, Billy Jack's right hand, acting capo, enforcer, but he wasn't for everybody. Billy Jack used to joke around and say, Frank the Bomb's a real fucking asshole, but he's my asshole. Or, he was very colorful, but he was as serious as they come, as hardcore LCN as they came. But he wasn't loved by everybody. He was Billy's guy. And when Billy died, Jackie cut ties with a lot of guys that were part of Billy's crew. For whatever reason, Jackie said, those were my dad's guys, and I'm not going to honor past relationships. So as soon as Billy died, Frank got put on the shelf. And for what, Frank looked at it as a slap in the face. He had been loyal to that crime family for 30 plus years as a made guy, had done dirty work. I mean, had bodies, did his time, kept his mouth shut, felt like he didn't deserve that. And he had to, and I'm not trying to make Frank out to be a victim here. I'm just stating facts. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Frank because he was very good to me. But at the end of Frank's life, he had to sell his house. His wife had to go back to work. He had to downsize into a much smaller house. His wife was working the counter at the grocery store after Jackie came in and pulled all of the stuff away from him. And who am I to tell Jackie what to do? He's the boss. It's his right to do that. But I know that I don't think his dad would have been cool with it. But Frank was someone who lived unapologetically, and he went about living his life after that. And he was a guy that was really close to a lot of the bikers, and I think he was able to earn a little bit through the bikers and through some of the black guys that he was doing business with. So I mean, I think he was still able to make a living, but his last couple of years weren't easy because of mob politics in Detroit.
All right, what do we got?
I think he's a capo right now. I've heard that he was an underboss at some point. Again, I know that there's going to be reporting on a kind of a new underboss of the patriarchal crime family.
Well, I heard he was the underboss, then
Yeah.
a consigliere, now he's captain. So who the hell knows what's going on with these
He might
guys?
be. He could be consigliere now. I don't know. And they named someone else.
That's what I heard. It was consigliere.
Yeah. So
Right.
I don't know if they would have well, and we'll see. We'll see. I know it'll get some headlines when it's reported this month.
Yeah.
Right.
More people than cancer. Ralph's nuts.
When my movie gets rolling, when I would love. Do you know about something that I don't know about? If I ever have a movie, I will be sure to have Italians play Italian.
That was good.
I would love to. I've been to London once in my life. It was great. I spent a week there when I was in college. I'm dying to go back.
I want to go there myself. That's one of my spots.
Joe Barbera Jr. was a Detroit mob soldier. His dad, Joe Barbera Sr., was the guy that held the Appalachian Conference. Joe Barbera Jr. married into the Detroit crime family, married the daughter of Peter Bozzi Vitale, who was probably involved in the Hoffa case, one of the conspirators. Joe Barbera came to Detroit after he married Bozzi's daughter and was just was a brute. I mean, I've just heard like a crass bully. He was alleged to have raped this mob associate named Pete Lazarus, who eventually became one of the first guys to flip against the Detroit mob. Even though he wasn't Italian, he was Greek, but he flipped because allegedly Barbera had raped his wife. So Barbera wasn't someone that was well liked, and was someone that was kind of looked at as a miscreant. But his dad was beloved.
What's up, Uncle Bobby? Oh, you guys, we're doing good, Jim. Doing good. Good evening, Bobby and Scott. Hope you guys are having a good evening. We are.
And I heard Joe Barbera Jr. died just a couple years ago. I think he died in 2017 or 18.
What do you think will take over after Jackie?
I don't know. I don't know what the Detroit mob will look like when Jackie Giacalone dies. He's in his early 70s. He probably has another 10, 15 years left living. I don't know if there's a future of this family. There's really not a younger generation. A lot of the guys, most of the guys I'm told are, over 50, into their 60s, 70s. I don't think Jackie's made anybody since he's become boss, unless, I'm getting bad information, but I've been told that there's been no making ceremony. So maybe there will be, but right now, I don't think there's been a lot of planning for the future. The only thing the only tea leaf I can read is that the Sicilian wing of the Detroit family right now, the Dana brothers, who have a lot of deep connections into the Sicilian mafia and run the Upper East Side of Detroit right now. Joe Dana's like 65. Mimo's like maybe 58. Those are the two brothers. So, if Jackie died tomorrow, Joe Dana and Mimo Dana would probably take over, and it would be kind of like a Sicilian mob cell operating as Detroit LCN.
All right, what do we got on? The FBI Trump raid was 100% political. Of course it was. Of course, that was terrible. Bobby, did Joey and the rest of the Philly guys?
No, they hated him. He flipped.
Yeah.
What's it like? I mean, if you're of that ilk, you don't like cooperating.
Everybody knows everything about. What's he saying?
About everything.
Yeah.
Wise.
Not wise. Keep up the great work, Bobby. Up the Irish and the Italians.
Yeah. I am following the developments in Las Vegas. 4 bodies have been found since May 1st. I don't know if all of them are mob related, but I'm guessing at least one of them is. And I'm guessing that they're going to be finding more bodies as the water level keeps dropping. They're supposed to drop another foot to a foot and a half in the next next year. So I mean, I think they might find a dozen bodies.
Yeah, probably. Ciao, Bobby. Great show, my Wednesday night. Hello, Kim. Hi, Tommy.
Why isn't there? There's a lot of it. There's a good amount of information on Jack Cerrone from Chicago. I don't think there's a dearth or a situation where it's difficult to find info on him. No, Detroit controlled Hoffa. Kansas City had control of Carl Thomas, who was also I think Roy Williams, who was a union boss, a Teamsters boss, was controlled by Kansas City, but Hoffa was controlled by Detroit. And Jackie Presser, who I think was between Hoffa and Williams, was controlled by Cleveland, maybe. I know that the reputed boss is Tommy Gambino, whose dad was one of the Cherry Hill Gambinos. It's never, what the LA Mafia has never really been since the 70s, the 80s, it hasn't really been that functional of an organization. So I think there's probably a handful of made guys. There's someone that's considered a quote unquote boss. I don't think they really have capos. So however you would, if you want to categorize that as a family, I think that there's also a lot of different, all the 5 families have guys in LA. So there's mob activity in LA that's not related to the LA Mafia. Do you think the brother's still alive? Does know what happened? Maybe. You mean the Andretta brothers? No, Stevie Andretta won't talk to anybody.
All right, what do we got here?
As long as you're talking, was he over? Yes, he was.
It was over Sammy, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Ozzy. Thank you. Boy. Suffering really bad with these allergies. The allergies kicked the COVID shit back in. I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you, I wish I never took that COVID shot.
I think from my reporting, the last making ceremonies in Detroit were between 2002 and like 2008. I heard there were at least a dozen guys made by Jack Tocco when he came out of prison because the family numbers had dropped down and he wanted to get him back up. But that was 14 years ago. So, and like I said, I haven't heard that Jackie's made anybody. So,
is the Hunchback?
No, he's been dead. He's been dead for a while. Yeah, I've met Jackie. It's just, he doesn't love. I know I've heard from people that the way he talks about me, when I'm not around. Yeah, he's never. When I've been in his presence, he's never verbally assaulted me. We've always had I've seen him out and about. I'll shake his hand, ask him how's everything going. We don't talk shop. I bought him lunch one time just as a courtesy. I've seen him out, at Starbucks. Not, I won't claim that I have a good relationship with him or a bad relationship with him. We know each other. We recognize, when I see him, I'll say hi to him and shake his hand. Have I spoke with Gunner recently? No, I haven't talked to Gunner since all that stuff popped off in the spring. He has no problem talking about me, though. He won't shut up.
What's this? Bobby Scott. How old do you talk to Bobby about? Can you read that? I can't read that.
He's just saying I'd be interested in doing a podcast doing an interview with a podcast in England. Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah.
All right. Where we going? I look tired tonight. I'm not feeling too good, Mike. I'm not gonna lie.
We can wrap up, man. I'm good.
Yeah, no, we gotta answer the rest of the questions.
Yeah, when the bomb would rap, that was very he, like I said, he was a colorful character, man. I was there live a couple times. He grabbed the mic and he would do his little raps, and he was very funny. A very charismatic guy that, like I said, one of the most unapologetic. He was who he was. You know, guy was 85 years old and going out till 1 o'clock in the morning, living the wise guy lifestyle. That's how he wanted to live, and that's how he lived.
Been watching Ozark,
Yeah.
and I mentioned Kansas City Mafia.
Yeah. There's been, there still is a Kansas City Mafia. It's not big. Probably 10 made guys.
That's not even.
Yeah, they got a boss and an underboss.
Yeah, there's capos in New York are more guys than that.
Yeah. There was a mob in Dallas until 70s, 80s. The mob it's interesting in Ozark that the mob is supposed to be like the guy who's supposed to be running the Kansas City Mafia. His name is Joe Cosgrove, so he's not Italian. I mean, I want obviously I want Mafia Prince to be made into a movie, but I want Mafia Prince, the one that, or not Mafia. I want Mafia Prince to be made into a movie, but I want the last Gangster where Bobby appears in George Anastasia's book. I want that to be made into a movie, or Blood and Honor.
Right?
Blood and Honor. Yeah, the Tringalis own a sanitation company in Detroit. Yeah, Genovese and John LaRocca were both big Pittsburgh guys, but Genovese decided to let the mob family die. He never made anybody. He stopped making guys in like 1990. So the family died off.
They said the same thing in New Orleans. They're just not making anybody.
Yep.
Just dying out. It's like a weed that ain't getting water.
Yep.
Bob, are you coming to London, mate? Invite me out for dinner, and I'm going to get you set up in front of all my football with mates. Yeah, I'm supposed to be coming over there next year, so we'll see what happens. Maybe February. What about Mr. Dominic Corrado? Is it?
I don't think they named Junior Soprano after him, but I do know Dominic Corrado was Detroit Fats, a longtime capo regime in the Detroit family. Became a captain in like 57. He died in 85. I don't think they named Junior Soprano after him, Corrado Junior Soprano. But I do know that David Chase, when he was researching The Sopranos before the show came out, he was using the DeCavalcante crime family, but he was also using part of the Detroit crime family to do his research. And I know he reached out to some people, specifically the Giacalone's attorney, Neil Fink, who worked a little bit with David Chase. And if you remember, Tony Soprano's lawyer in the show is Neil Mink.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay. We only got like 10 left. I want to go right through them. Hello? Yeah, Mickey Mouse Mafia. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's fine. So, I don't think it's necessarily an outlier of a situation. I think more times than maybe you realize there'll be a father. I think you could maybe find this you can find this probably across the board in multiple professions where there's a father who's loved and respected, and the son just doesn't quite meet doesn't check those same boxes, and
that's it.
falls short of what the father was.
I've seen that myself 100 times.
Right. So
I've seen that myself. The apple falls very, very far from the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Joe Lombardo. That'd be Phil Lombardo. They call Benny, but I don't think he had anything to do with. I mean, I think he would have. There would have been a consensus that had to be got amongst all the bosses that were, on the commission back in '75 for Hoffa, but I don't think there was any one boss that was ordering that. I think it had to be agreed upon. Frank the Bomb had a lot of influence in the Billy Giacalone wing of the crime family, but not a lot of influence outside of the Billy Giacalone wing of the crime family.
Okay, let's read this, Bobby. No question, the COVID vaccine has weakened our immune system. Yep, I think you're right, 100%. Arthur?
The Cleveland's not defunct, but it's not really a fully functioning organization either. It's in between. What happened with me and Gunner was using my name and taking advantage of my friendship and my reputation. And I told him to stop, and he wouldn't stop. And that's where we are.
All right, Joe Miller. Good evening, brother. Bobby, sorry you're not feeling well. Prayers for a speedy recovery. I'm glad.
Oh, sorry.
I'm glad I never took the jab. All right. Who's the boss of KC?
We see Johnny Joe Shortino, and then Pete Simone's the underboss, allegedly. Bomb knew the bikers, yeah. He was best friend. He was really close with Satan. I loved that. I met that guy. He was the head of the vigilante biker gang, and they called him Satan. Right.
Yeah.
I've heard multiple, some Tringallis are mobbed up in Detroit. Other Tringallis aren't. One of the Tringallis married Billy Giacalone's daughter. So that Tringali is, but not all. In Detroit, you have all these names that are from the Palermo section of Sicily that all come from Terracini. So you have a lot of the similar names, but that doesn't necessarily, like there are multiple lines of Tocos. Not every Toco in Detroit is mobbed up. But there are parts of that lineage that are, mob royalty in Detroit. But then there are other parts, there are other Tocos that are, they don't have any mafia lineage. They just happen to have the same name as at this time. Well, if Tommy Gambino, I guess, but I don't know if that really means anything.
Yeah, probably not.
It's like if you're a boss of what are you the boss of? Who would Phil be okay with? He would have to be okay with it.
Yeah,
he would have to give his. Well, wouldn't have to be, but if someone was going to do it and they couldn't get his life rights, they probably wouldn't do it. So he would have to sign over his life rights to make the movie probably the way they wanted to make it. Yeah, Detroit and Pittsburgh were always very close. He's made it very personal.
All right, let's go.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. He does have great content. He does. Germany, was better than his father and uncle, which is rare. That's true. No, he's right about that.
His uncle was someone who let his drinking get in the way of his job. And I think you took away the alcoholism factor. Chucky was a great leader, but the alcoholism derailed him. No, there's a little bit of LCN in Ohio, but not a lot. Detroit, see that again? That's the Eastern Market's never been the Detroit LCN headquarters. That's Gunner narrative. Maybe back in the 20s. I like American over Lafayette, but
all right, great.
There's barely any mob influence in Eastern Market right now. There's maybe one or two businesses that have some mob influence, but it's not what it was, in the 20th century, and it really hasn't. Billy Giacalone was headquartered there in the 80s, but he's been out of. When Billy Jack left Eastern Market in the 80s, it wasn't what it's been. It hasn't been a mafia center for 30, 40 years.
All right, we got like 5 or 6 left. Let's get them. Rest in peace out, Bruno. Okay. Bobby, did you watch the video I did about you on my channel? Yes, I did. It was very good. Very good.
I don't know if Lenny was there. I think Bugs could have been there, and I think Billy Giacalone and Tony Palazzolo were there. Lenny was with. We know Lenny was with Tony Giacalone that day. Detroit's mob headquarters is actually kind of, if you would consider it a headquarters, Birmingham, Michigan, which is like the richest outside of Grosse Pointe. It's the place where right there's not a ton left, but what is left? Two of the leaders kind of camp out every day in Birmingham, like a block away from each other. And, that's like the real ritzy. That's like the Beverly Hills of Metro Detroit. So it's not what it used to be. It's not in, it ain't in like the inner city of Detroit. I've heard that, but I don't know if that's true about some of Danny Green's guys being in Detroit. Right, and there's nothing going on in Rochester now. It has been defunct for 20 years. Jackie's daughter got a $30 million settlement from a ambulance company, but he won't see a penny of that. I know that the Giacalones were close with Joe Russo. I mean, not close, but friendly with J.R. Russo.
Yeah.
Had any secret talent?
I hit the wrong button. Sorry, that was my phone.
For example, Capone could read. Vince Maley, who was a longtime capo in the Detroit mob, he was a special forces in the World War II and was a driver for General MacArthur and helped liberate the concentration camps. Pretty remarkable. And he died every day being a captain, which guys are. Phil didn't really have that much of a crew. He was kind of a capo that reported, and an underboss that just reported directly to his uncle.
Big G.
I'll save that one for the last one.
I just assume Hoff ended up at Lenny's house.
He could have ended up at Lenny Schultz's house, or I would lean towards Carlo Licata's house, but they were both about 2-3 miles away from where he was last seen. Because the ambulance company that owes the $30 million doesn't have $30 million. At first, when I saw that he got the settlement, I thought it was against Clark County in Las Vegas, because that's where it happened to his daughter. His daughter had an allergic reaction to a peanut in Las Vegas and is in a coma now. 10 years later, is never going to come out of the coma. It's really tragic. But it wasn't against Clark County. It was against this rinky-dink ambulance company. He won't be able to collect any of it.
All right, what do we got left up there?
That's this, and then we're going to go to Big G.
All right, let's see Big G.
Chicago has a lot of, just like a lot of the crime families now, they got a lot of white-collar investments.
Thank you, Big G.
Thank you.
He's a good man, Big G.
And we did it for the night.
We did it. We hit everybody?
We did
Awesome.
everybody.
Wow, that's big.
We got one more.
All right, let's do this. Yeah, let's get it. We got a few minutes left.
Thank you.
Yeah, what was the name of it again, Scott?
The Original Gangsters podcast.
Original Gangsters. Okay. All right, that's good.
And tell them where we can find you again.
You can find me at gangsterreport.com, Original Gangsters podcast, Bernie's tweets, BURNEYSTWEETS at Twitter, Original Gangsters, all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gangster Report, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
And we can find your books at those links also, correct?
Yep.
All right, we got some more here. What's up? Thank you, Bull. What else we got? You're welcome, Scott.
He died. Joe Luce died a couple years ago. He was in retirement in Pennsylvania.
Oh, God bless. Thank you. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Buffalo's really active. We didn't realize how active they were, but they're pretty active. Probably 30 made guys.
Well,
Ernie Biandello got killed in '96 in that Youngstown mob war.
thank you. Take care of yourself. God bless, my friend. Well, we had another great show. I really enjoyed this tonight. I learned a lot, Scott.
Bob, you teach
I mean,
me.
I wish I was feeling, but I would have been more involved. But I'm hanging in, you know.
It's all right, man.
Listen, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thank you, my man. Always. You're gonna be on my. I'm gonna have him on. We did an episode with him with Original Gangsters, and we're gonna do another one soon. We had a second one planned, and then we had technical difficulties, but we'll get that second one rescheduled.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Well, you know what, Kim? Let's answer the rest of these questions.
Thank you.
Ransom. All right, I'm glad you joined. What's up, my brother?
Good Shabbos. Thank you. Shomer Shabbos.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, they have a Canadian underboss, Don Violi, just got out of prison. Thank you, Colin.
Nice. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you.
Toronto, I mean, they're active, not in the way that LCN's active, but there's a lot of mob activity in Toronto, just a bunch of different groups that have nothing to do with the American Mafia.
All right, Sonny. Thank you, both. Peace, blessing in the name of the Most High, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Thank you. They look like brothers. Oh, I got to check that out.
Piece of God. Why risk it? Because it's a family business, and the Chidaros that run the pizza place. That guy's dad, ran that family for a long time. Yeah, Joe Chidaro's allegedly the boss, and his dad was the boss before him. So, it's just like any family business. You have a vested interest in keeping it alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Barney meets with other families in New York, but
yeah.
Mike.
Well, I'll tell you how it was when I was on the street. Pete Gaudy was the acting boss.
Right.
There was no more commission, so he used to go around to everybody and let everybody know what was going on. They passed things that way. I'm sure this is what Bonnie's doing. If he's not doing it, someone else is. But that's the new thing now. You know your stuff, Scotty, see?
Thank you. Well, when Traficante was there, it wasn't open territory.
No.
I mean, parts of it were open, but not that Tampa St. Pete area wasn't open. Miami was more of an open area.
Mikey Scars. Yeah, I'd love to have Mikey on the show. I really would. I like Mike. We did time together. Real good guy. Well, listen, I want to close out with the book commercial, hon.
Yes, sir.
And Scott, I want to thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Bob.
We're going to drop a commercial. If you want to hang on till the commercial's over, hang on a second. Oh, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me right now. I just want to talk about my new book coming out from Copper to Christian. It's been years I've been wanting to put this book out. I wrote most of it in prison. And I'm proud of the book. And, the content of the book, it just shows you it goes from my childhood right through the war in the 90s. And, what happened to me that night that everybody wants to know about. That demonic encounter that I had that lasted over 8 hours. That's all in that book. I don't get deep into the war. I don't get descriptive with anything. Emily is going to be doing a book of my life story that's really going to be detailed. But this book here I wrote it as a testimony. So, I really believe that, you'll enjoy the read. What I'm going to do is I'm selling it on Etsy and eBay right now on pre-sale. People already started to come up and pre-order the book. It's amazing. I had a feeling this was going to happen. What I want to do for the first several months or more is actually handle every book, personally sign them, and mail them out to the people. So, I don't know. I mean, I think by the time the book comes out, I don't know how many are going to be there, how many I'm going to need, how many I'm mailing out. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. As the orders come in, that's the order that the book's going to go out. If you're 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th, that's how they're going to go. So if you like, go up to Etsy now, go up to eBay, pre-order your book. And as soon as they come rolling off the press, they're going to be mailed to you. All right. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy the read.